All right, so here we are with the review for quiz number 11 on condenser microphones. All right, the first thing to say about condenser microphones is that they all require 48 volts of phantom power. And that just helps the diaphragm activate, and well, we're going to get some more into the diaphragm pretty soon. Again, there are two specific models that I want you to memorize the names of and be familiar with. The first is called the Neumann U87. Neumann U87. Yeah, we'll do this first. This is actually not a U87. This is sort of a little brother of it. This is the Neumann 193 TLM, I believe. Yeah, TLM 193. But it's got the same sort of chassis, the same look, except the U87 is usually silver. And it's a workhorse. It is sort of a studio standard. If you've watched old, well, even not so old, right? They're still used today. It's kind of the go-to condenser studio microphone. Singers all the time. Yeah, I guess a lot of times you'll see it upside down like this, right? And they'll be singing into it. Yeah, so that's one you should recognize if you're working in the studio. You're an assistant engineer, and the engineer says, "Yeah, go grab me a U87." Right? If you're like, what is that? I don't know. Anyway, it's one you should know. You should know it on site. Know what it is. Yeah, and I'll go into this. Okay, so the name of the company is German. The snobs and everyone, I want you to know that when the snobs are dealing with it, it is pronounced Neumann. Neumann. Okay. Often I will hear people say Newman. And my hope is that you're not the jerk that corrects their pronunciation. But I want you to know. Okay. And so, yeah. Particularly if you're working with somebody in like their home studio and they've invested thousands of dollars in their Neumann microphone. Say you should. My advice to you is to look at it lovingly and say, "Wow, that is a beautiful Neumann microphone," right? Yeah, and maybe someday you bring up that your teacher calls it Neumann as opposed to Newman. But I want you to know the difference, and maybe just watch out that if you say Newman to a snob, that they might use that as a weapon against you. Okay, so the second type of condenser microphone is by a company called Audio-Technica. Excuse me. I really like Audio-Technica's. This here is the Audio-Technica 4033. There are several other versions that have a similar body type. We actually have, I think, the 4040 as well. And I'm making you memorize these because we will use these in the studio often. And they're basically my recommendation for you if you're looking for your first condenser microphone. Bang for the buck. These are really good, right? The 4033 here is about $400. I know. But this was the first condenser microphone that I bought. I invested the $400. I've been happy with it. It's been on most records that I have made over the years. If that is too much for what your budget is right now, there's a version called the 2020 that should be $100. If it's more than $100 wherever you look, you should look for it for $100 or tell that person, hey, I can get this for $100 someplace else, and maybe they'll come down. Anyway, Audio-Technica really quality microphones at a reasonable price. But yeah, my recommendation. Okay, let's move on from the commercial there. Condenser microphones have a flatter frequency response. You remember a couple of lectures back we talked about the same frequencies going in and coming out. Condenser microphones are going to do that much better than the dynamic microphones that we talked about last time because they've got a thinner diaphragm. Okay, it's much easier for the diaphragm to move, pick up those low frequencies, pick up the very high frequencies, and better than that moving coil, that magnet going through back and forth through a loop of wire. The polar patterns are, you have many more options in condenser microphones, and often on the same microphone, like that U87 that we just talked about there. You can switch it between cardioid, omni, and figure eight. It can do any of those. It can do all of the above. So, right, often a company will put out a condenser microphone that only has, right, the cardioid version, and then for a few dollars more, right, you can get that same microphone but able to switch between the polar patterns. Okay, that is quiz number 11 on condenser microphones. Thank you very much.